Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Bibbs, Alonso, back together to talk about Looking. This time it's The Last Hurrah. Looking, the movie, which premiered on HBO a couple of weeks ago. We're finally getting around to talking about it.
And we're going to treat this as a TV review as opposed to like a movie review.
Right.
In a movie review, we wouldn't really spoil the ending.
Yeah.
We assume you've watched it. It's on HBO Now and HBO Go.
Exactly. So if you haven't, go watch it and come back. And we're not going to do a rating because we do that for...
and this is the thing about Looking the movie. It's barely a movie. Like, it really does feel like a long episode of the show. Like, when a show gets canceled and they bring it back for a movie, usually they try to do something kind of big to justify it.
Like they would go to Hawaii or something?
Well, I was thinking of a very Brady Christmas where everyone reunites and they're all about to get a divorce, and then Mike gets like trapped under rubble at the construction site, and the only way to save him is to sing "Oh Come All Ye Faithful," and he just miracles himself out of there.
Okay, well, look, we can't all reach those heights, but I would say that you get a wedding and you do get everybody coming back together, and people's lives have moved on and changed since the show. So
I guess I'm just used to more contrivance, like they're like a big murder mystery,
right.
or we're gonna resolve something, and like obviously that's not Looking, but they could have done something. Like someone could be dying.
Right.
And
here's the thing. I think that Looking was a show that didn't know it was ending.
Yes.
A lot of times, you get now series will be like, for example, The Americans are doing 2 more seasons and then that's it. And so they know they're working up to this sort of end point.
Yeah.
And
Looking just got canceled.
Looking had the rug pulled out from under it. So this was their chance to kind of like put a coda on it and sort of bring the characters to an end point, if not, the end point.
Well, and it's actually kind of fitting for Looking because again, what was it called? It was called Looking, and Patrick and to a lesser extent, perhaps all the other cast members, they're trying to find their way. It's sort of a general theme, but it was a point, and I think we can all identify with it at one point in our lives or another, where we don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out. We're trying to find direction. We're looking for stuff. And every episode was called Looking for Blank.
Right.
So the idea of leaving the characters, again, there's a sense of finality. There is a conclusion, but leaving everyone with stuff to do and places to grow feels very appropriate. And but even so, just this episode is, this movie is Patrick comes back to San Francisco. He moved away about a year ago, a little less.
10 months, I think they say.
Yeah, around there. And he's coming back because Augie and Eddie are getting married. Yay! And someone gift that. That would be great. But they're getting married, and he's coming back, and he's reuniting with everybody. He's handling all the baggage. And we're going to find out if he ever actually ends up with Richie, which,
Of course he does.
Yeah, of course. Like, it's one of those things like, Ross and Rachel are going to get together at the end of Friends. Like, it would be weird if they didn't. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And I think that was probably also a big part of getting this movie made, was just having that happen, not being left with that unresolved.
I wonder if they had known they were going to, like, we're going to tell them, like, before the series is over, this is going to be their last season, if it would play it exactly the same, but that last scene with Patrick and Richie in the barbershop, or
Diner.
Salon, whatever. Because he was getting his haircut. I wonder if that would have made it clear that they were going to date, and then they wouldn't have needed this. Really.
Right. Sure.
I wonder.
I liked about this one that I think really felt like a coda in a lot of ways was that this seemed to be, let's all call Patrick on his bullshit, which the show would do from time to time, but there was a lot of bullshit with him. And I think this one is finally like, look, you pretty much run away and moved home. This is why your relationships don't work. This is why you self-sabotage. This is why you don't own your shit and why it goes wrong for you. Let's address that. And I feel like
for them.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that over a fairly truncated period of time, he's able to, have the conversations that he needs to have with Kevin, with Richie, with the with his friends and stuff. And it kind of gets into a place of like, all right, here's what I've done wrong. I've learned something. Now I'm going to fix it. And now I'm going to make my life work. And now I deserve to give it another shot with Richie because I'm going to be I'm not the person that I was before when I fucked it up.
But I admire the show for like not just fixing him. Like even at the end when he's having the fight with Richie's boyfriend, whose name escapes me, Patrick is even just like, why did I do that? I knew the right way to handle that situation. And I just can't help myself. He's not perfect.
No, of course not.
He's not fixed. He's not just a better person.
He's just self-aware.
But it's nice to see a natural and organic sense of growth. And by having him come back after a long extended absence, this entire episode / movie can feel like just that sense of closure, sometimes satisfying, sometimes not. I want to talk to you. I think the scene that really got me, and I feel like it was the most playful they were being with the format of the movie, was when Patrick and Dom are in bed together.
Yeah.
And Patrick's just like, maybe we're supposed to be in a relationship. We never really talked about it. Maybe this scene is going to happen. And I'm just like, did Patrick come back to town to just sleep with every member of the cast? Because that would be an awesome movie. Also, where is the looking porn parody? Because that's a good idea,
that's
right?
True,
That one writes itself.
I was going to say, that's not
easy.
too big a leap.
No, and honestly,
this show has rimming in it, for God's sake.
Pretty inexpensive, too. It's not like Firefly, where you couldn't afford the CGI effects. That's why we've never had a Firefly porn
You just
parody.
shoot it in San Francisco. You're doing that half the time anyway.
Done. You're welcome, Internet.
That scene was great, and it's funny. We screened this film at Outfest before it aired on HBO, and it was a packed, DGA1, which is a pretty big theater, and that whole moment where they're sort of inching up on the idea of Patrick and Dom together, you could hear a pin drop. It was like, oh God, are we doing this? Happen? Is this going to happen? So I like the setup. I like the deflation of that moment. That was very well done.
Yeah.
I like the scene with Tyne Daly a lot.
Yeah, it was well handled, actually.
Yeah,
just the idea of focusing on the person who's engaging in the marriage and talking about it from that perspective is something we never see.
Yeah, and it was just kind of cool. Where it was sort of this again, Andrew Haigh directing, co-wrote with Michael Lannon, who created the show, who came on with us once.
Yeah, he was great.
And one of those things that Lannon does, or that Haigh does so well is, and Lannon too, those very kind of intimate two people scenes, and it's not moving the plot forward in any way, like Richie and Eddie are having their, or Eddie and Augie are having their kind of pre-wedding jitters, whatever. But it's just this little sort of heartfelt moment that expresses a lot of stuff, and I'm sure they probably had the option to throw in a lot of celeb cameos. This show probably racked up a lot of fans along the way.
It would have been so forced.
Exactly. This was one, and it was nice.
And honestly, I barely recognized Tyne Daly. Honestly, I wasn't really distracted.
Well, you're straight.
No, well, I am, but I agree, and that's actually we reviewed Stranger Things recently, and my key issue, again, I liked it okay. My issue was it didn't really seem to be about anything in particular. It seemed like a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of plot, not necessarily in service of anything meaningful or thoughtful. And Looking, which has no plot to speak of other than just getting over your baggage, it actually manages to resonate, and even in ways that are somewhat obvious. I wonder. I've only visited San Francisco a few times, and obviously I've never gotten married there. Does everyone really get married next to a bust of Harvey Milk?
Not necessarily next to that bust, but that's,
you can do it there.
The City Hall is gorgeous.
Oh, it is. But I just mean, is that where you get married though? Is that
you can? Yeah. In fact, Dave and I. One of our marriages, the one when Gavin Newsom said, "Hey, come get married in San Francisco," and we did it, and then the the California Supreme Court overturned them all. Nonetheless, we got married in City Hall. I don't know
awesome.
I don't know if we were next to the Harvey Milk bust, but I did get married in that building.
That's fantastic. That's really, really cool. I just meant putting it right next to the Harvey Milk bust is a little on the nose.
Yeah, but it would actually happen. It's not like they bus and trucked in there like that. People do get married.
They could have. My point is that the important thing was the wedding from a plot perspective. They could have done it anywhere.
Sure.
They could have had it at Dom's restaurant if they wanted.
At the chicken window.
Yeah. So they threw that in there, and it adds a little bit of context and relevance. Patrick has a couple of lines where it's just about we're kind of taking this wedding thing for granted now, but we fought really, really hard for this, and it's hard not to feel validated. It's good sentiment. It was really, really great. We haven't talked about Eddie yet. He's not in this enough, if you ask me, but he steals every moment.
Of course, you can't not love Eddie. And that's the thing. I think you talk about characters being fixed and stuff. Eddie needs the least amount of work on this show.
Honestly, I don't know if we'd had another season. I don't know what you do with Eddie. He's too well put together to really work in a serialized format, except as a counterbalance to someone who's completely fucked up, like Augustin was. For a long time.
Right. I'm sure they would have figured out something, but I think you're right. We don't get a lot of him, but also there's not so much to do with him because he's great.
The moment, because I liked that we were so focused on whether or not Augie would have cold feet, and he had a moment.
Sure.
Perfectly natural, that it actually never occurred to me that Eddie would have a moment of cold feet. And he just played it so amusing. This would be the smallest Italian wedding in history. But there's that bit where Patrick and Augie are talking just in the foreground, and you see him just like a fucking lone gunman in a cowboy movie just saunter right up to them from the background and just go, let's fucking do this. I'm like, that is how I'm getting married in a couple of months. That's how it's going to be just before the wedding. It's going to be great. I'm going to just go up to my bride-to-be and go, let's fucking do this.
There you
It's gonna be
go.
great.
I'm glad you're getting inspiration from
Romance.
this. No, and I liked that the whole thing with Eddie's friend and Augie and Dom having like hooking up. It wasn't like let's create a big love story for Dom.
Yeah.
It was just like let's get Dom laid because he's been working on the chicken window for a year and hasn't had any time for a personal life. Did you catch the Andrew Haigh sort of self shout out?
No, I didn't.
When they're getting there for the wedding and Tyne Daly comes out, there's an older couple who leaves. And when Patrick starts talking to her, she points him, she goes, they've been together for 45 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
Yeah,
That's
45 Years is the Andrew Haigh second film that came
really
out
good
last
movie.
year. It was nominated for an Oscar for Charlotte Rampling. She was
Excellent
great
film.
in it.
But regarding Dom, just real fast, I like that not everyone ended up with their true love at the end.
Yeah,
I like that because that's too tidy and
Yeah.
it would feel really, really false. Just the idea that and Dom's okay.
Yeah.
He's over it. He'll get laid. You know, like he'll be fine. Maybe he'll find someone eventually. Maybe he won't, but-
yeah, exactly.
But he's okay.
But he's good. And Doris is like, I would like to get pregnant, but you know, maybe I will, maybe I won't.
It's a very healthy attitude, honestly.
Very much
It's
so.
nice to see them together. Everything's fine.
Yeah, that's the other great couple. Doris and Malik are just
So
adorable.
It's nice. And it's, you know, what this movie, if you can call it a movie, because it really just felt like an extended episode, what it really needed to be was a send-off, but also just basically one last moment with everybody, and everyone gets their moment, even Patrick's ex.
Kevin. Which is,
we
I
haven't
thought,
really talked about.
which was a great scene, I thought, and
Yeah.
and unpacked all of the sort of ugly, awkward stuff that you can have when a relationship ended badly with someone, and you obviously still have feelings for them, and you have these regrets that it didn't. You didn't even get the chance to find out where it would have gone. You know, Russell Tovey is a terrific actor, and I think that he and it just flew right out of my head. Jonathan Groff played that beautifully, and I consistently I think the performances here are all great. You're reminded of why you wanted to see these characters again, and I felt like everybody got their sort of moment to shine. You know, you had Augie's moment, you know, that hike where they talk about Sigourney Weaver. You know, Dom gets his moment. Like everybody gets their little time to like have the spotlight, and so I think if you're a fan of the show, this was a very kind of satisfying wrap up.
And if you weren't a fan of the show, you have no idea what the fuck is going on, because
yeah.
this isn't one of those things where it's like, see Serenity, you'll get the gist of it.
Yeah,
like, no,
this isn't for you.
This is the season finale, and they've just called it a movie because it's only one thing and it's about 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
But for that purpose, it's really good, and I'm glad it got a send off. It feels reasonably natural. And I'm really, really glad that you brought me on this journey with you. 'Cause you really wanted to review Looking, and I hadn't seen it yet. He was like, I need someone to review Looking with. And I'm like, all right, I can catch up. It's a short show. I love it. This show is wonderful, and I'm really, really glad that we've been able to share it with people and talk about it with each other, and I've learned a lot about everything from you.
Well, thank you for coming on board.
This is the part of the review where we finally make out.
No, it's not.